The Monica Perez Show is a call-in radio show about current events, politics, economics, and life in general from a libertarian perspective. The show is broadcast live every Sunday night from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time on News Talk WSB 750 AM and 95.5 FM. Warm round of applause for Monica Perez.
So I guess I don't have to tell you who I am. There you go. Thank you very much. So, but yes, I am an anarcho-capitalist. So I love Ron Paul. I love his message. But, you know, I go a little beyond Ron Paul. I mean, I'm a libertarian anarchist. And I think, you know, not only in a Ron Paul crowd would people even know what that is, but Ron Paul knows what it is. He was friends with Murray Rothbard, who created the movement. And this is not the anarchism that you see with the Occupy Wall Street crowd. Those guys are socialists in anarchist clothing. They are disguised as anarchists, but they really want community ownership of property, and that's socialism. That's government is everything instead of government is nothing. I believe that that the functions of government don't need to be coercive. They can be voluntary, and that we'd have a more peaceful, more orderly society, a more egalitarian society. If we didn't give up all our power to the government, who uses it against us to take away our liberties, to use our money for their own purposes, to reward their cronies and this and that. But I'm not the only one who's discovered that the government is a total scam. There have been anarchists throughout history, and it's not just, you know, you think that it's crazy people, but actually it's the opposite. It's the real thinkers, historians, economists, writers. H.L. Mencken was one. Robert Heinlein, the great sci-fi writer, he dabbled. His wife was a libertarian anarchist. And but my favorite is Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy wrote War and Peace. He's, you know, seems like an establishment guy. He was a spiritualist anarchist in Russia, where he said, you know, that Western society is supposed to be Christian. Christ said, give up everything and follow me. And these kings and everything were the heads of their Christian churches. But they used their power to fight unjust and immoral wars like we do. They used their economic power, their power to print money, to rob the people of their hard-earned wages. And Tolstoy said, I'm not buying it. I'm giving up everything, like Christ said. And he struggled with faith. I struggle with faith, but you can't deny that message was what Christ said. And he lived it, which apparently made his wife crazy, because he was a count, and she wanted to live like a countess. But no, they lived in a small house for the rest of their lives. But I was thinking about it, and I grew up the youngest of 9. We didn't have much. My father was a trucker. There was almost nothing to give up. But as my mother would say, you know, we always had enough for a bottle of beer. And it was true. And we didn't give up the bottle of beer. And my parents, and I don't blame them, they were tired at the end of the day, and they would watch TV and yell at the TV. That was their political activism. Those crappin' pinkos. And so, I don't blame them, and they taught us, and we learned. But I started thinking about it. It's like, you know, Ron Paul actually gave up everything to serve really a moral value. So first he went slogs through medical school, which I'm sure was a beating. His wife paid for it, and as soon as he was out, he went to the service. 2 little kids. He didn't have to go. Newt didn't go. You know, they didn't go. He went without complaint. And then when he came back, you know, I'm sure he could have lived the life of Riley. There were only 2 practitioners in his field, in his town. You see how he loves those babies. He must have been happy. And you can make good money, a little town in Texas, but he left it to serve in Washington, and at great expense to himself. And so at a certain point, you know, you see that he was standing there, you know, alone, and the establishment, on the right and the left, they have control of all the mics. You know, every TV and radio in the whole country is spouting the liberal fascist message that you get from both sides of the aisle. They completely dominate. They have every megaphone, every bully pulpit, and he's there by himself singing a cappella, you know, and in the few times he gets any attention, they ridicule him, this man of principle. And so what could his hope possibly be? To be heard over this din, over the drumbeats of war, over the cries of what's in it for me, and the promises, I'll get you more. You know, how could he be heard? There was only one way that he could be heard, and it's if enough voices joined his chorus that even without the megaphones, they could be heard. And it's happening. Enough people are standing behind him that even though he's working without a mic, they can hear it. They pretend that they can't hear it. You never hear on CNN or Fox a fair description of what's happening. That you know in DC they're not listening, but they can't deny that it can be heard. And what's happening is he's starting to get, those people in the chorus are starting to get mics. You know, they're starting to plug in the amps. You know, we're going to turn it to 11 and they are going to hear. So I felt like the most perfect way to celebrate that all of a sudden you can hear the cries for freedom ringing out from one side of the country to another right now is with the gym. So I was so happy to be invited. I appreciate it very much. My show is on Saturday nights tonight at 9. Feel free. I'm going to talk about false flags tonight. Gosh, if you know what the government does, I can't. And you know, there's so much evidence, and people still don't believe it. So if you have anything to add, give me a call on the air, and let's talk and enjoy. Thank you so much for having me.